one thing that bothers me about war is the people that take the decisions or that start wars don't seem to be on the battlefields. They are not the ones who get killed. They are not the ones who get raped, or they're not part of the collateral damage, right? And so for them, sitting in their bunkers or in their palaces, in their safe places, they don't need to really worry about their decisions. Hello, I am Amrita, and this is the Book Talkies. Here, we encourage you to read, to think, and connect the dots between books and current events and trends. Today, let me start with one slogan. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. As most of you would probably know this, of course, that this is one of the famous lines from the book 1984 by George Orwell. It's a classic, right? And I'm not really going to introduce this or give too much information about it. I have myself read this around 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years or so. And recently, I read it in the form of a graphic novel. So what I liked especially about this one was that it added a new dimension to it. Reading it in the format of a graphic novel, I could say that visualizing those characters and the scenes, it definitely enhanced my experience. And it did not mock this classic in any way, changing this format. So it was a good experience. So getting back to 1984, it's one of my most favorites. It's something that I go back to over a couple of years, and I think the reason is I have always been able to create parallels with our current world, between the world that George Orwell has created in the book, right? And I believe the reason why this is he has captured human behavior in this book really well, right? Some aspects of human behavior really well. And that's the reason why I keep just going back to it. I love just going through it over a period of time again and again. So this time when I read it, some of the parallels that came to my mind is something that I want to talk about right now, right? And the first slogan itself, war is peace, right? Let's think about that. War is currently, at least, it seems to be perpetual, right? And that's how he has portrayed it in his novel as well. That there is this perpetual war which is going on, and God knows since when it has been going on. And after a point, is the war even real? The enemies just keep changing. It's at some time, I think it's Eurasia, then it becomes East Asia. The main question actually here is, why is there a war? What is the purpose of the war, right? And the wars, I would say this is something which we should think of, even the wars which are happening around us right now. And yes, I agree. War, by definition, just to what we think of, is that war is for defending our lives, the people that we love, the land that we own. This is something which we typically think of when war comes to our mind. But let's just try to think of it. Is war the people that create war? What are they trying to do? Are they probably even trying to distract people? Is it something that, people now focus on more rather than actually thinking about what is happening around them? Maybe, they're not asking questions. Maybe they don't need to worry about infrastructure or getting better school systems, right? Now the focus, the money, everything seems to be going towards this war rather than maybe hospitals or the things that actually, we should have got from that money. So is it something that is happening? And honestly, always, one thing that bothers me about war is the people that take the decisions or that start wars don't seem to be on the battlefields. They are not the ones who get killed. They're not the ones who get raped, or they're not part of the collateral damage, right? And so for them, sitting in their bunkers or in their palaces, in their safe places, they don't need to really worry about their decisions. That is something which has always bothered me about war. Now let's still move on to some other topics that I feel are around us right now. And but for that, I need to start with some of the concepts that Orwell added in his or created in his book. One is something that is called as newspeak. So let me try to give a definition of what newspeak is. This is like a language. It's a controlled language that is developed by the state. Okay, it has a limited and a simple vocabulary. Okay, so what's the design of having such a language or having a control on the language? Why do they want to do that? Think about it. Okay, the simplest explanation that comes to mind is, okay, they want to limit free speech. But it's not just that. They want to just limit even the ability of a person to think. If a person is not even aware of certain concepts, certain words, how would they even think about it? If you reduce the vocabulary itself, this is the impact over a certain generations. Probably they wouldn't even understand what freedom is. So forget about even controlling freedom speech. If the person even doesn't realize what freedom is, then that's it. That's the end of freedom altogether. There's one more concept. It's called as double think. It sort of runs in parallel, all of these concepts that he has given. Double think is tricky. It's sort of, you could say, like a result of brainwashing. The way how he has explained in the book, I'll try to just read that, is it's double think is to know something but not to know it. Is to be conscious of the truthfulness but still telling constructed lies. To hold simultaneously two contradictory opinions. Simply saying 2 + 2 is 5. In my mind, I know it's 4, but I have been brainwashed. If I have been brainwashed to such a level that I would say it's 4, but it's 5. So I actually believe in both. So that's tricky, but it's a great concept. Okay. Then there are some concepts like thought crime and thought police. Again, this is more about suppressing ideas. It's about not just ideas, but even thinking, right? To stop people from thinking altogether. Now, let's come to the world as we know. All of these concepts, which I just mentioned, don't they sound familiar? Okay, they do sound a lot familiar to me. Let's think about cancel culture, right? There's so much, you can call it maybe peer pressure, but it's like if you say something that others do not like, then you're just at a risk of being shunned and at the risk of being cancelled. And social media has of course made this really easy. If a collection of people just decide that, we do not like this person or this idea, then that's it. That idea doesn't really exist anymore, even before it probably reaches to certain people who might like it even, right? Let's think about political correctness. I know that it's meant to protect people. That's the thought behind being politically correct, as we call it, right? But we are changing words. We are sort of controlling the language. There are phrases which have been used, which were always being used, but we're controlling that and deciding what are acceptable. After a point, some words won't probably even exist in the dictionary. Is that the right way to go about it? Now let's take a few more examples, right? In Orwell's world, there is no privacy. You are always under watch. And it's not something which the people even consider as bad. For them, it just is. That's their world. Their world is always under a camera. Now, maybe it sounds as if, the state in the country is doing it. It's against the people's wills and things like that. But think about the parallel of our world. We are used to cameras. I am discussing my feelings right now in front of this camera. And slow and steady, is the presence of cameras just actually going to be ubiquitous? It's just there, right? I mean, our topmost concern is digitally having privacy, our data being secure. It is our topmost concern right now. And I think it's just getting worse. It's getting tougher to have that privacy, have that security. Let's take another example. Okay. Information. How it reaches us and what actually reaches us. It's so easy right now to put or push propaganda out there, or even just confuse the masses. You put out so much information that people are just lost. People don't know what the truth is anymore. I mean, some incident happens, a bomb blast happens, and all of a sudden, people are bombarded with so much of information. You don't know what actually happened. And that is really, really easy, and even I could say is what I see around everywhere right now. So let's get back to the slogan, okay? War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. So this book, to me, is not about good versus bad. It's not about poor versus rich. There will be poor people, there will be rich people, there will be good people, there will be evil, bad. I mean, it will always be there. The most important idea that comes to me from this book is to never stop thinking. Never stop asking questions. And always be aware of what is happening around you and why it is happening. So, I would like to leave you with these thoughts. And if you haven't read this book, then please, I really urge you, encourage you to pick this up.